As we near closer to the start of the season, preseason games are just around the corner. We cannot help but get hyped to see Bulls basketball back in action. Sure, it would be nice if the team was fully healthy, really just talking about Lonzo Ball, as he's going to at least miss the first few weeks of the regular season, likely more than that. And with Lonzo Ball missing some time, it raises a question on the Bulls roster. Who is going to start in his place as the season begins? And that's what we'll be talking about in this video. So what's going on, everyone? You were listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, you might have seen from my community post a few days ago that my channel was temporarily on hold while I was resolving a copyright claim issue. Luckily, it has been taken care of, and I am now able to start posting videos again, but that's the reason for the lack of uploads over the past week. Hopefully we don't run into that issue again. In the meantime, we still haven't quite hit that 30K subscriber mark, or at least at the time of this recording anyway, thanks to YouTube for putting my channel on hold. So if you want to be included in that 30K giveaway, in which I'll be giving 3 lucky winners their choice of either Bulls tickets for 2, or a game this season, or a jersey of their choice if you're not based in Chicago. If you still want to be included in the giveaway, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel. But anyway, let's get into today's topic. So I'm sure everyone has seen by now that Lonzo Ball, he had surgery on his knee yesterday, in fact, and will be reevaluated 4 to 6 weeks from the time of the operation, which does not mean that he'll be returning to the court 4 to 6 weeks from now, just that he'll be reevaluated at that time and assess his progress. In fact, Lonzo himself said in his media availability that he's not going to rush his rehab, given this is his 3rd surgery on said knee. So it's very possible Lonzo could miss considerable time to start the season. Now, this isn't that new for the Bulls, given Lonzo missed more than half of the season last year, but what makes it different this time around is it allows them to prepare in advance of the season as to who will be starting at point guard, rather than inserting someone in that role on the fly once Lonzo got injured back in January. And so I've had a lot of people ask and talk about who should be starting at point guard for the Bulls while they await Lonzo's return, because the Bulls thankfully have quite a few options with their heavy backcourt. And Billy Donovan has said they have not determined who will be starting at point guard, and that will be decided on in training camp. They have Dosunmu, who filled that starting spot most of the year while Lonzo was out, Alex Caruso, who also started in place of Lonzo on occasion and did in the playoffs against the Bucks. Then you also have Coby White, who started a handful of games in place of Lonzo. He actually on occasion started at the 2 when Lavine was injured. And then you also have the newly acquired veteran in Goran Dragic. Now, I actually asked all of you, who do you want to see starting in Lonzo's place between those 4 players? Not who you think is going to start, because there is a difference, which I'll discuss, but who do you want to see having their name called out at point guard in that very first game of the season? And I know I say this a lot, but I was pretty surprised by the results of the poll. Out of 4,600 people who voted, 62% of you felt that Ayo should be getting the start, while Alex Caruso and Dragic were around the same, coming in at 18 and 17% respectively, and Coby White 3%. On Twitter, similar results, a much smaller voting size of 285 votes. You can follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Bulls Central YT. You can see Ayo got the majority of votes at 63%, Caruso and Dragic around the same, and Coby 1.4%. Now, here is my view on this. And I briefly talked about this when we learned that Lonzo was going to need surgery and would be out at least to start the season. For me personally, I'm with you guys. I want to see Ayo start. I think for his overall development, the fact that he's capable on both ends of the floor, the fact that he's handled himself very well in that role, being thrown into that starting spot as a rookie, showed a lot of maturity and poise. You have him coming into his 2nd season, getting that additional experience under his belt, would be great for him and for the team, not just for this season, but also for Ayo's future. I mean, aside from Goran Dragic, who we don't actually know how he'll show up at this point in his career, at least the last couple of seasons anyway, for him have been pretty underwhelming. But aside from Goran, Ayo, in my opinion, has the best court vision and playmaking. Alex Caruso is a very smart player and can do some of that as well, but he's not as good of a floor general as Ayo is. Not saying Ayo is this incredible floor general, because as a rookie, he made a lot of mistakes, made a lot of turnovers, just more so comparing the two together. Ayo, for the most part, has great instincts and can read passes and also plays great defense. And I mean, for me, I'll go back to this. It's all about development for this kid. That's why I want to see him start over the guys that I mentioned. Dragic probably is going to get the start, which I'll get to, but I'm all for giving Ayo a run at this, given he's shown he can do it. It would be different if this was his first go around, or if the Bulls tried him at point last season and he failed miserably. That being said, when I say I would want to see the Bulls start Dosunmu in Lonzo's place, I do not mean if it's for the playoffs, which let's hope by the time of the playoffs we don't have to worry about Lonzo's health, but you never know at this rate. But yes, I think most will agree when it comes to playoff basketball, high-stake games, where the Bulls need a win, you're going to need a veteran in that instance who has the experience necessary to control the flow of the game and help you get the W. It's why you saw Alex Caruso getting the start over Ayo in the playoffs, because you want that veteran experience in those moments, especially when you're going up against a team that has championship level experience like the Milwaukee Bucks did. Is the fact that when you have guys like Lavine, DeRozan, and Vucevic in your starting unit, you're going to need someone who can actually have strong defense to balance the heavy offensive game of those three. And yes, Ayo can give you that. He's one of the better Bulls defenders, but Caruso is one of the more elite perimeter and point of attack defenders in the game of basketball, and Ayo just simply is not there yet. And then of course, there is Goran Dragic, a 36-year-old veteran who has extensive experience in the league as a point guard. Had some great years both for the Suns and for the Heat. He's obviously not the same player he once was, but still a serviceable point guard. And the Bulls signed him for a reason. Really as an insurance policy should Lonzo not be fully back to health, and wouldn't you know it, he's not. Now earlier in the offseason, shortly after the Bulls signed Dragic to a vet minimum deal, he mentioned that part of the reason he joined the Bulls was because they were going to have a role for him, that he was going to actually get playing time. He even specified 20 to 25 minutes, which was more than any other teams were willing to offer him. And at the time, most Bulls fans, including myself, thought this was very odd, because how could you possibly promise Dragic that many minutes when you already have Lonzo, Ayo, and Coby? How are you going to spare that many minutes for a 36-year-old player who has clearly been on the decline? Well, now it's all making sense. I think we all kind of knew, or know now deep down, the Bulls knew Lonzo's recovery wasn't actually going as well as they thought, or at least what they were letting on to. And so without Lonzo, a guy like Dragic is probably going to be seeing considerable time on the court. Now, do I think Dragic should start at point guard in place of Lonzo Ball? No. I don't think you want to kick off the season playing a guy who, while yes, played well in Eurobasket, hasn't really played many games in the NBA in the last 2 seasons, is not a good defender, in a starting lineup that is already filled with average defenders at best, a guy whose three-point shooting has declined considerably, and on a team where the Bulls need shooting. But do I think Goran will start at point guard in Lonzo's place? Yeah, I do. I think Dragic will be the Bulls starter at the one in that first game of the season. And it's because we all know Billy Donovan loves his veterans. He loves guys that have the experience, leadership, and high IQ. And I think he's going to want to start this season with a point guard who has more experience being a floor general than someone like Alex Caruso or Dosunmu. That's just my personal opinion, but yeah, I would be pretty surprised if the Bulls put someone else out there to start game 1 of the season. Coby White, I mean, you guys know my thoughts on Coby White. I don't think he's going to finish out the season in a Bulls uniform. I would be pretty shocked if he did. He's on an expiring contract, a guy who's going to be looking to get paid, and he just doesn't fit with the roster long term. And so yeah, I wasn't surprised when I saw Coby get hardly any votes from you guys on who you thought should be starting at the point guard. That would probably be the biggest shock of the year if Billy Donovan chose to start Coby White over all the other options at his disposal. Unless, of course, he wants to increase his trade value, which I guess there is some merit to that. Clearly, the Bulls have been trying to shop Coby, but haven't been able to move him because his trade value just isn't that high. Well, the only way you can increase his trade value is if you showcase what he can do and just hope that he plays well. Otherwise, you're probably going to lose him as a free agent for nothing this upcoming offseason. But anyway, in short, I personally would like to see Dosunmu start. I think he would be the best option for the Bulls from a fit perspective, and also just for his overall development. But who do I think will actually get the start? It's probably going to be Goran Dragic. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.